We know this ain't right.
Man, this can't be life.
We gotta unite.
Like, if you want to be honest, slavery started literally after they said slavery was omitted from practices within the wilderness of North America. So let me repeat that again. The moment in history that we think of slavery being 1492 to, let's see when Google says that they ended slavery, that Abraham Lincoln ended slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed when? When was the Emancipation? We got the tablet out. When was it signed? 1863, January 1st, 1863. So in their history, they taught us that slavery was from 1492, which is when Christopher Columbus landed on the shores of what they call North America today. And it lasted all the way to January 1st, 1863, which is when Abraham Lincoln signed what's called the Emancipation Proclamation. This is what they tell us the history of slavery, all right? Well, if you want to be honest, we were at war with them since they landed. In their year of 1492 is when they landed. However, slavery, the day that they said slavery ended was literally the day slavery started. All right? I'll repeat that again. The day that they taught us that slavery ended was the day that slavery actually started. Because from the moment they entered our planet through portals in the Caucasus Mountains in their year of 1492, this is when their history starts on our planet. This is why when I tell you that they lied about being here 6,000 years, 100 million years, they're lying. They used time machines because they invented time. It was a spell given to them from the Arcturians. The Arcturians are an extraterrestrial race. All right, an extraterrestrial species that lives in a completely different galaxy, not from this galaxy, not from any galaxies within this universe. We are in the 9th universe, okay? So, let me let you take that in. Okay? So, when you see history and you go back in their textbooks and they document, oh, they got all these pictures from in black and white, they show you all these artifacts. They show you dinosaur bones they say were hundreds of millions of years ago. The Big Bang Theory, these are all lies. Lies. Every motherfucking thing they ever told you in history was a lie. Not some of it. All of it. Not some of it. All of it. They literally just got here. This is why their history starts at 1492. All that 6,000 BC shit, 840,000 BCE, lies. We know Jesus wasn't real. So all that BC before Christ, after Christ, lies. They entered our realm, this planet, they entered our planet and entered our realm through portals in the Caucasus Mountains in their year of 1492. This is why they tell you Christopher Columbus discovered a new world. They meant that literally, a new world. And he sailed over the waters. They're not talking about the Atlantic Ocean. They're talking about the waters of the cosmos. All right? Because the element of water is found all throughout the cosmos. So when they talk about in the Bible how God separated the waters above from the waters below, they're just basically describing to you the way the realm is set up. We have 9 other realms on this planet. We are Atlantis and we sit in the middle. We have 4 realms above us, 4 realms below us, all separated by water. This is why you can look in the sky in at least what they call the daytime when the sun is on our side of the realm and you see the sky blue. That's water you're looking at up there. We breathe in hydrogen. This is in our DEA links. Hydrogen, that's water. Oxygen is a poison to water. It encapsulates the water. So imagine water and you used to take a jar and put the water in a jar. That's what oxygen does to water. To hydrogen. Imagine water, right? And they used to take all that water and just pour it into a jar and put a top on it. Right? That's what oxygen does to hydrogen. So this is why they spray the air with what they call chemtrails, but that's oxygen and Margellans to encapsulate the water we breathe that we are connected to, not only within our vessels, our avatars, but all throughout the cosmos. So Christopher Columbus sailed over the waters of the cosmos and entered this realm through portals in the Caucasus Mountains, which is why our ancestors called them Caucasians. So they just got here in 1492. From their year, because remember, like I was telling you, time. So yeah, this is why so many time zones, because it's a spell. So time, years, days, all that shit is a spell that was given to the human being race, the hierarchy human being species, from an extraterrestrial civilization called the Arcturians. And they are from a planet called Arcturus, located also in this 9th universe. But you have 999 galaxies in this universe. And they are from one of the distant galaxies in this universe, the Arcturians. So from 1492, hold on, let's go back to it. I got it pulled up right here. I got the MacBook right here. We in class, y'all. Because I'm going to go to certain dates. You know, I don't keep up with time. From 1492 to January 1st, 1863, which is when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, we were at war with them. Free. As free as we've ever been, because we were at war with our oppressors. But in history, they got us thinking that we were slaves from 1492 when they landed to 1863. And that in 1863, that's when we were freed. I repeat, 1863 is when slavery began. Okay? There's a saying called 40 acres and a mule. Where does this saying come from? You might have heard me say in past lectures, I ain't seen an acre and I ain't seen a mule. My mama ain't see it. Her mama ain't see it. Her mother's mother ain't see it. Why did I say that? Because this is what they promised us after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Abraham Lincoln. They promised all the carbonated beings 40 acres and a mule, or so they say. They say, hey, we want to make up for the fact that we enslaved these people, so we will give each one of them 40 acres and a mule to start their own families with. Because 40 acres, that's land, and you got a mule to till the land. So with that mule, you can use the mule to till the land, and you can start planting your vegetation, your corn, your fruit, your crops, right? And once you get the seeds planted, now you get the growing corn and different nuts on your land. You able to live off the land. You good to go. So that's why I was this big emphasis on 40 acres and a mule. But it's the main part of history that has been left out. We never got our 40 acres and a mule is because we went into slavery in 1863. To be emancipated, the Emancipation Proclamation is a play on words, more light magic. We know by now that all of their words is spells, right? We learned in that, we remembering that, right? So it was a play on words. To emancipate means to free from your hand, not your control. I repeat, to be emancipated means to free from your hand, not your control. And let's not forget why we burning this red candle again, in honor to all our ancestors whose blood was spilt by these oppressors. Whose blood was spilled yesteryear and our blood that continues to be spilled today. We are the same species. We have been enslaved. We have been raped. We have been abused, battered, lied to, belittled, hoaxed, jinxed, hexed, cursed, hypnotized. So let's not forget why we burning this red candle again today. For all the martyrs we lost, all those who dared to speak up and stand out and fight against the bully. Because see, they don't tell you that when they talk about 40 acres and a mule. But on Google, everybody pull out their MacBooks or your laptops or your iPads. Go to Google. Let's have a read along. Type in 40 acres and a mule origin. I'll repeat that. 40 acres and a mule origin. ORIGIN. And they'll give you just a small little paragraph right above it. And if you want to learn more, you can click it to Wikipedia. Okay? But under this, it says 40 acres and a mule is part of a Special Fields Order number 15. A wartime order proclaimed by Union General William Tecumseh Sherman on January 16th, 1865, during the American Civil War, to allot land to some freed families in plots of land no larger than 40 acres. Now, when was the Emancipation Proclamation signed again? It says here that President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, as the nation approached its third year of a bloody civil war. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforth shall be freed. That's January 1st, 1863. January 16th, 1865, Special Field Order number 15 is a wartime order proclaimed by General William Sherman during the American Civil War to allot land to some freed families of land no larger than 40 acres. Okay, so we already caught them lying. All right? We already caught them lying. All right? January 1st, 1863. These are their words, not mine. They say January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. So therefore, all the slaves were freed. Correct? But 2 years later, a wartime order is issued by Union General William Sherman. It's called Special Field Order number 15. And it was issued during the American Civil War. So how could the slaves have been freed in 1863, yet 2 years later, in 1865, they are issuing special field orders, which they clearly tell you was a wartime order, where freed families would be issued plots of land no larger than 40 acres, along with a mule to help you till that land. You know why they lying right now? Because Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863, so what the fuck is we issuing shit in 1865 for? Seems to me, Special Field Order number 15, which we know as 40 acres and a mule, should have been issued in 1863, or 1862, or 1864. So, we gonna connect all these dots right now. Remember I told you, I said, hey, they got everybody thinking that slavery ended in 1863. But in actuality, slavery started in 1863. It was the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, which is where they started to enact and use these enchantments and spells on us. They started to bedazzle us or bewitch us with their words. Because Emancipation Proclamation itself is one of them. Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation and freed the slaves. But to be emancipated means to free from your hand, literally, but not your control. I repeat, 1863, with the signing of their Emancipation Proclamation, is when they started their enchantments over us. In fact, the whole Emancipation Proclamation is a fucking spell / enchantment within itself. You ever heard of charms and witchcraft? You use charms to further radiate your spell. That's what the American flag is. A charm. It's a charm. So is the Confederate flag. A charm. Every country flag is a charm to remind the oppressors of how they conquered our land. I don't care if you wave a Puerto Rican flag, a Haitian flag. We didn't have flags. We didn't need a reason to have a flag. The land was all ours, one landmass. But once they divided us up, they came with all these different flags. They flagged the land that they claimed so that they can know what was theirs. Okay? So, they have a series of wars that they use in their history books to hide who we really are and what was really going on during that time. We, the indigenous beings of this land, in this planet, Anunnaki gods, Atlanteans, were never slaves. Biggest lie they ever told in history. We didn't get on no boat coming from Africa. Niggas wouldn't even made it on the ship 6 months stacked up like that. With feces and urine everywhere, you wouldn't have survived that. The captains wouldn't have survived that. We know that much today. But what we don't know is that we were never slaves. You had a small series of us that actually were kidnapped during the wars and forced into slavery. And that small series could have been like a couple 100,000 to maybe 1 million of us, but it was hundreds of billions of us. Our ancestors had babies, 20, 30 babies at a time, 50 babies sometimes. A goddess can have as many babies as she has eggs. This was before they started fucking with the food. Before they started feeding us bullshit. Before they started putting fluoride in the water. Before they started coming up with birth control. Before they started attacking the estrogen in us and the testosterone within us. They used to kill black babies and feed them to alligators. They came up with ways to limit how many babies we could have and produce. They attacked our reproductive abilities because we had babies in bundles. You could go back 2, 3 generations. Your grandmama had 20 kids. You ain't got to go back that far. Go to your 3 generations back. Grandma had 13, 14, 15 kids. That's for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you. You go back to your 6th generation. Your grandma was having 30 kids. You get to your 9th generation, she was having 60 kids. You go back 20 generations, she had 150 kids. Each egg was meant to be fertilized. Do you think we will put eggs in a goddess if they were not meant to be used? Naturally. A goddess has up to 300 laid eggs that she comes here with. Right? Meanwhile, the god can populate. He get thousands of seeds a day. This is where polygamy came in at. Because you had one god, he might have had 10 wives. And they were one tribe. Each wife at her full potency, she's producing 200, 300 babies. Each egg, as many eggs as she has, as many babies she can produce. Now today, she come in with 300 eggs, she might only produce 6 kids. That's how they tamper. That's how hard they have tampered with our genetics. Yeah, remember, we didn't have hospitals anciently. We wasn't getting shots. We wasn't going to get vaccinations, yearly checkups. We didn't need that. Our ancestors had their babies in the water. Amongst the water spirits. Amongst nature. Down by the river. Right? So, you had all these wars. Let's pull them up. One of them was called the American Indian War. The American Indian War was fought from 1609 to 1924. One of the biggest battles is called the Battle of Little Bighorn. Go research it. But it wasn't no Indians. That was us fighting them. Remember, I told you, when they landed on our planet, we helped them at first. And then a set of us called the Moors were put under spells, and through these spells, taught them all. They end up teaching these human beings all our ancient esoteric information. These human beings passed it along to these reptilians and these Pleiadians who took it and used it to invade and take over our planet from the inside, our realm from the inside out. All right? And as they did that, they pushed our second, they used our Merkaba to blow our second sun out the sky. That's why we have one sun in stratosphere today. We had 2 originally. The sky used to be purple. It wasn't blue. We had these huge pyramids made out of crystals. They blew them up too. Now, if you want crystals, they scattered all amongst our land and all in the ground because they blew them up. They cut down all our original trees and use spells to replace them with these 30 millimeter bushes we see today that we think are trees. They are bushes. And these bushes used to sing out frequencies and the alike as well. And as we continued to fall in frequency, we went from these gigantic states of 100 foot, between 50 foot to 100 feet we stood. Giants, we are the giants. But as we fell in frequency, we went through a metamorphosis. And now we are these sizes and these colors today. We were green, blue, yellow. As we continued to fall in frequency, we lost powers and abilities. We forgot that these genetics began to lie dormant. Then we fell from gods to Lemurians and Atlanteans. But we was at war with them the whole time. From Atlanteans, we turned into the Mississippians. From Mississippians, we became Choctaw and Creek and Cherokee and Navajo and Californians and all these different tribes. From the tribes, then they reclassified certain tribes as Indians, certain tribes as Negro, certain tribes as colored, certain tribes as black folk. We were warring during that whole time. And because we were at war, these oppressors would catch certain of us, round us up as prisoners of war. And the ones that they rounded up as prisoners of war became the slaves that they would take and put on the plantation. That's how that went. Not at one time in history, nigga, did they ever just come, fuck us up, had us living as slaves, you know, because they got you thinking we was like this the whole time. Niggas just shackled up, we on a plantation picking cotton. Yeah, a few of us did that. But those were the ones they were kidnapping in war. We dropped to these states and they still couldn't fuck with us. That's what the Zulu Wars is all about, with Shaka Zulu. And all these other, what they call African tribes. All throughout their history, they talk about these wars. It was consistent war, and it was fought with us. The American Indian War, they fought us. We the Indians. Then you got the Seminole Wars. Then you got the Second Seminole War. All these wars, they was fighting us. Then you got the Gullah Wars. These are all wars throughout history where we fought them. Then a few of us that they was bringing on ships from the other part of our landmass, which they call Africa, they put us on the water and they circled around to make us think we was coming way across the water. They caught some of us, small percentage, prisoners of war, because we was warring on the whole planet. They'll bring some to this section of the planet just to make you think we came from Africa. And history has you think we was picking cotton, and a small percentage of us was doing that, man. 3% of the population. It wasn't 5, maybe 3% of our whole population actually got caught up in that, of having to live as slaves on a plantation. And that 3%, that's the ones they was raping. They would rape our sons. They would rape the dads and buck breeders. They would rape the moms. But the majority of us was right here warring with them, fucking them up. We straight gangsters, spiritual warriors, spiritual assassins. That's been us. That's been what we are. Nothing less. But they can't let you know that. They can't let you know that. See what I'm saying? It's easy to say we came, we landed, we enslaved those niggas, and then we freed them. They didn't free us. Slavery started in 1863. Slavery started with the Emancipation Proclamation. So this is why niggas never got 40 acres and a mule. If 40 acres and a mule was the gift for you being freed, why niggas never got it? They'll tell you in a book called The Relationship Between the Jews and the Negroes that all of the 40 acres and the mule was ceded to the Jews. And we know who the Jews were. The Jews, these are the original Germans. This is why I keep telling y'all, we ain't no motherfucking Hebrew Israelites, man. And that's not knocking the gods and goddesses that's out here telling people that. Because that's been going on for a long time. Hebrew Israelite is a lot better than saying we niggas. It's just they haven't went back they haven't went back far enough yet to realize that no, we not the Hebrew Israelites. That's not the Star of David. That's the Makerba, man. But they'll have you thinking that that star originates from Israel. But what was Israel's real name? Jacob. And what did Jacob do? Why did he change his name to Israel? Because he wrestled with an angel, an angelic being, which is us, and got his ass whipped and reclassified itself as Israel. The Hebrew text, Hebrew is a Greek word. What color were the Greeks? White. Human beings. Aristotle, all them were human beings who studied up under us. The Hebrew text says, but where does the ancient word Hebrew originate from? Greek. You go do the research. That's Greek. The 12 tribes of Israel, them are the 12 original tribes plus one that came out the Caucasus first. That's why in their pyramid of elite families, they have 13 families that run the whole world. 12 tribes of Israel plus one. But they got our brothers and sisters out here think we Hebrew Israelites. And African Americans. And Latinos. We never got 40 acres and a mule because we didn't need it. When the time period where they said we was enslaved, we had our land. And in the period where they said we was now free, we didn't have our land. Think about that. When we was at war with them, we still had the land. The Seminoles had their land in Florida. All these tribes had the land. But then once the Emancipation Proclamation got signed, all of a sudden, they got the land. That lets you know right there, nigga, that actually they told us history in reverse. Doing all that slavery, we were free. We were even free because we was free mentally. We knew we was brothers and sisters, and we knew who the fuck the enemy was. Now look at us. Niggas supposed to be free, but we don't know who we are, and we don't know who the enemy is. We think we each other's enemy. Shit go wrong, we blame us. We've been bewitched. They have us so bewitched that as soon as something go wrong, niggas look at us. It ain't them. We can't keep blaming them. We can't keep blaming the white man for our problem. But they didn't jig, they didn't hex, they didn't hypnotize the fuck out of us. $40 acres and a mule. We don't need 40 acres and we don't need no mule. This is our land. What is 40 acres when all this is our land anyway? So they hid a whole history from you. They got you thinking that a civil war was fought between the North and the South. And I taught you, I say, hey, the North only fought the South for money. Right? But let's get deeper now. What if I told you, now that we know that the Civil War wasn't real, that it was never a civil war? The Civil War is looked at as one of the most bloodiest battles in American history. This is the war where they're supposed to fight each other. And a lot of them lost their lives. But what if I told you that America never fought herself? They've been united since they came. What if I told you that they was fighting us during the Civil War? And that the Civil War never took place? The whole time, all these wars in history, the American Indian War, the Seminole War, the Second Seminole War, the Civil War, these are all wars, the Mexican-American War. These are all wars used to hide the fact that they've been warring with us since jump, nigga. And then when you go look up the Gullah Wars, you'll find out even more than what I'm saying connects those dots. Because in the Gullah Wars, let's go to it. See, you got to piece this shit together, man. Because they not going to tell us this. You see? They not going to tell us this, y'all. Let's Google the Gullah Wars. They say in the Gullah Wars, black Seminoles are a small offshoot of the Gullah who escaped from the rice plantations in South Carolina and Georgia. They built their own settlements on the Florida frontier, fought a series of wars to preserve their freedom, and were scattered across North America. Okay? Black Seminoles. The Gullah Geechee Wars, right? But they still lying to you. The Gullah Wars, they try to make it seem like it lasted. Hold on, let me see what Google gonna say. Let's type in what they lying about. Okay, here we go. They say the Gullah Wars was fought from 1738 to 1858. That's a few years before what? 1863, right? 1863 when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, which is supposed to free the slaves. Because they don't even tell you the truth about the Gullah Wars. Even when you go look that up, they give you a little truth. But I'm here to tell you the truth about it all to make it make sense. The Gullah Wars is just one term for the war that was fought with us between them since they landed. And we fucked them up. Every war, we was fucking them up. We was fucking them up. This is the true reason Abraham Lincoln even signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Was never no Civil War fought. It was us fighting them, fucking them up in the Civil War. They couldn't beat us in war. They were only able to capture some of us. Remember, we've been warring since they originally landed. So to size, to shut all that down, they're like, you know what, man? We're going to go ahead and make them niggas think they free. We'll sign the Emancipation Proclamation, which basically means that you are free. We are no longer trying to enslave you or take your land. But it actually was a hex, a curse, because we fell for it. And they knew we would because they had all our enchantments. So it was a curse they wrote up. That's why it was a written doctrine. A doctrine. A doctrine is nothing but another word for a spell. So when they came with the doctrine, that was our way. That was like a way of waving the white flag. And we kind of let off the gas. Like, okay, these niggas know now we ain't playing. About time they get it. And then what we do? We start trying to merge in with them. Then they came with their factories and offered to give us jobs. And we started merging in with them. Because you got to remember, light magic was being used through these curses. Through these curses. How do you think they got our ancestors to seed them the land? They say the Indians seeded the land. We ain't seed them shit, nigga. How do you think they got so many of us to forget who we was to even walk the Trail of Tears? All the Cherokee who was moved out of Georgia and Alabama and present day all the way had to walk out of Mississippi. They couldn't do that before them spells, before that Emancipation Proclamation. They basically hit us like they did when they first landed with the pilgrimage. How they say the pilgrims tricked the Indians. Remember they did us like that when they first landed. So when they came with the Emancipation Proclamation, we kind of, again, we fell for it again. Okay, they know what it is. We, instead of keeping the pressure on, we kind of fell back a little bit. And they made us think that it was no more war and that we were free. And that's when we started getting passive. They started using more charms, planting more flags. Hey, we want to share the land with you. We're not here to take it. We just want to share. Can we share? Us being a gentle group of species that we are, we never wanted war. We are warriors, but we are warriors for righteousness. They are the savages. They like the war, just the war, just the war. That was never us. Since the beginning of creation, we always were built to war, but only if it's righteous. We are about peace, positive energy, which always creates elevation. We are about high frequency, about building. So even when they dropped our frequency to make us war with them, we were only warring to get back to peace. Because they came and tried to take that from us. So that's why we war what they asked. So when they waved the white flag, the Emancipation Proclamation, we was like, okay, cool. Because we back to the state. Okay, maybe we can have peace again. They see that we do not wish the war, and maybe they have learned their lesson. Because although they were able to enslave some of us and even deport some of our souls off the realm, they was not winning the wars. All through history. It was millions of slave revolts that they keep hitting. Then you got slave revolts like the one with Gabriel Prosper where niggas went back and told about it. And that's how we lost that one. Or the one with Denmark Vesey where we had 9,000 souls ready to attack these generals in these wars, and somebody went back and told them when we was going to attack, and it was our own that did that. And they were able to stop that revolt. But instead of just saying when they were warring with us in history to hide that we were never slaves, they call them slave revolts. They tell you your ancestors were slaves, and Lincoln, then they tell you a white man, a human being, freed us. When Lincoln himself said, if I can preserve the State of the Union without freeing the slaves, I would do that. He said it out of his own mouth in the Gettysburg Address. You go do the research. Abraham Lincoln. And if the North fought the South, then why the fuck are they still flying Confederate flags in the South today? Huh? We're just cordial, colored, concerned citizens. We're just asking questions for a friend. 4 C's. If the Civil War, right? If the Civil War is what freed the slaves, and the Civil War was fought between the North and the South to free the slaves, and the North won that war, right? Then how the fuck is the South still flying Confederate flags today? Wouldn't the North be against that? Because they make it seem like the North wasn't with slavery, that it was just the South. And that the North had this whole big issue with them having slaves. So the Confederate flag represents slavery, nigga. It represents that moment in time, right? So why would the North eradicate all the Confederate flags too? Why would that be against the law today to fly your Confederate flag? Because it's a lie. The North never fought the South. The North and the South on the same goddamn page, nigga. They the same group of people. It was the North and the South, which is the United States and Queen Elizabeth and all them bitches, versus us, the gods, nigga. Who they reclassified as Atlanteans, and then reclassified us as Mississippians, and then reclassified us as all these different fucking tribes and Indians and shit. Because before we was Indians, we was black Indians. Then we just became Indians. In the 1800s, shit, we were just Indians, Negroes, black people, and color folk. Hell, it wasn't even no Latinos, let them tell it. Then in the 1900s, out of nowhere, here came Latinos. Then amongst Latinos, you got all these different... Come on, man. It's always been us. Your modern day black people and Latino people is the same fucking race of beings versus them. And the Emancipation Proclamation took us into slavery, nigga. We was never slaves up to that point. We was at war with them for our shit, nigga. That's what was going on. Even after they knocked us from frequency, nigga, we was still warriors. We was still in tune with the land. Why you think in the Gullah Wars we was fucking them up? All these different, we was fucking them up. We've always been in tune with nature and the planet. They could never fuck with us. We can't be fucked with, nigga. Even now. Even now. Why you think I tell you we the last generation? And then we wonder why we never got 40 acres and a mule. Because the 40 acres and the mule is a gift for the freed slaves, right? Let's go back and look at it. Let's pull it back up. 40 acres and a mule is part of a special fields order number 15, a wartime order which was proclaimed by Union General. So the Union represents the North. Union General William Sherman on January 16, 1865 during the American Civil War to allot land to freed families, nigga. So if we became free, why we never got it, right? Right? Because when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, nigga, that signed us into slavery, not out of it. And before it was signed, nigga, we was never slaves. We was warring with them, trying to prevent them from enslaving us. So they told us history completely in reverse. Now niggas is slaves. Yeah, our ancestors didn't fight each other. We didn't see our women and call them bitches and disrespect them. We was free. We knew we were free, so that made us free thinkers. We knew who we were. We know what we are, where we come from. It was give us liberty or give us death for real. Nigga, this is the softest generation of us that has ever been produced. Up until now, because we rising again. Them indigo children here. with a vengeance. We back with a vengeance, nigga. To take this bitch back. But from 1863, nigga, all the way to like 1950, we was soft as shit, nigga. Soft, sweet as bear meat, nigga. Slaves. Thinking we were free. Under hoaxes and spells, and they made their most advancement on our civilization during that period. Facts. $1850 came, we had that eclipse shift coming in, that celestial energy started poured in. You seen us rising again. All through the late 50s, all through the 60s. Nigga, by the time we get to the 60s, you got Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, GDs, Crips, and Blood organizations starting up to protect the community. You got all these people, all of us speaking out, fighting against the system. Then they hit us, they locked all them up, killed them all. Then they came with AIDS and crack and pornography in the 70s. Well, cocaine, because crack came in the 80s. But cocaine and pornography, they started tampering with the weed. They started putting GMOs on the marijuana to stop our connection to the plant and what it does to us. To weaken the genetics of the plant. They set up the FBI and CIA and DEA and all these organizations to attack us. Start putting drones in the community, all these birds and cats and insects to watch us. Came with the color TV to fire selenium in our pineal gland, started putting fluoride in the food. Yeah, it got real. 86 come to hit us with crack. AIDS. 90s come to hitting us with all type of shit. Anthrax, all type of shit they done made up. Ain't none of it working. All the way up to now. But now we free again. And they know it. Freedom is here. This is true freedom. To know who you are. To know where you come from. To know this your land. What you mean we ain't gonna go about this shit? I'm gonna stand on all 10 about this shit. I will never honor them or their laws. We gonna war about this shit on all levels. You can't tell me I can't practice magic. Because remember, they outlawed us practicing magic. That's what the Salem witch trials was about. Remember that now? But 2020 hit them planets aligned. We became free again. Thanks to our ancestors pouring in them energies. Now we free again. That's what the waking up is about. Remembering who you are. Like, oh shit, it's our land. Lectures like this. Hold on, what? So you telling me we was free? We never was slaves? We never was slaves. A small percentage of us was. And those were the ones they was kidnapping. When they landed, it was war, nigga. We rumbling. The guys like, that's what I'm saying. Your ancestors was flat out gangsters, nigga. And we still them warriors like that. They could never take that from us. So what they did was once they put us in slavery and started all this hexing on our mind, they took that warrior essence and made us fight each other. Because they can't remove it. So that's why you see us killing each other so much over since the 70s. We start killing the fuck out of each other and disrespecting our goddesses and our goddesses disrespecting the man and all this aggression. But only with each other though. Because the aggression can't leave us. It got to go somewhere. We gangsters. What you mean I can't arm myself? What you mean I can't protect my family?